Welcome to the Lean Podcast, where empowerment and alignment come together. I'm your host, Mahogany, here to guide you through inspiring stories of resilience, overcoming grief, health challenges, career struggles, and more. Together, we'll lean into strength, embrace growth, and discover the power of sharing experiences. Before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to start with a prayer. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to join me. Dear God, thank you for this space to uplift, inspire, and empower. Bless the woman sharing her story today and those who are listening. May this podcast be a source of hope, healing, and alignment with your purpose for our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hello. Help me welcome Celicia Nicole, our guest for today. She is an inner beauty champion, helping women get dressed from the inside out. She is also the co-founder of Girl Get Dressed and the CEO of Homemade Company. She was also a teen mom, and she's been married for 13 years. She's a grandmother of 2 and a mom of 3. And let's not forget those dogs. She is also a dog mom. Help me welcome Celicia Nicole. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am blessed and highly favored, girl. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Now, I just one correction, unless the Lord knows something that I don't know. So I am a grandmother to 1, a dog mom to 2. So
Okay, all right, hit us
I don't
up.
want my daughters calling me, telling me anything.
Right, okay, if they do, let me know because I'll take the blame for that. My bad.
No, you're good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, y'all. Today, Celicia Nicole is going to be talking to us about her beautiful marriage of 13 years. So, Celicia, outside of all of the names and the titles that you were just given, who are you?
So, I am Celicia Nicole. For 40 plus years, I have been known as Lisa, and I have just decided that I want to embrace who I am. Lisa was a former teen mom. Lisa was a dropout in high school. Lisa was an angry woman who didn't love herself, didn't know herself. And so, fast forward today, I am rebranding myself to Celicia Nicole. Celicia is my God given name, and Nicole's my middle name. Celicia Nicole Smith, and a mother of 2, as you stated, a wife of 13 years, a dog mom, and then my daughter has a son who's 2 years old. So I wear many hats: CEO of a cleaning business, co-founder of a social impact group called Girl Get Dressed, and now founder of Celicia Nicole, my personal brand.
Awesome. I love it so much. I love seeing the transitions and how you just walked us through that and how you've been able to develop yourself. And I know to be a woman who is able to look herself in the mirror and say, I know who I was, but I also know who I am now, and I'm going to completely claim that. I
Yes,
absolutely love it. I love
yes,
it. But
yes.
I do know that that didn't come just by surprise or by chance. What are some things that you've had to work through in order to be who you are today as Celicia Nicole?
Well, it started out by me being a teen mom. So I come from a 2 parent home, which I think is important to note, because I thought that that would be my journey. I thought that, my mom and my dad have been married now for 40 plus years. And so I'm like, 2 parents, I'm going to get married. I'm going to be a mother of a boy and a girl, the American dream, a nice house, nice cars. That's what I thought my life would be. And it quickly turned into something different. I became pregnant at 17 and then again at 21. And dropped out of school during that time, went back to school. But now I'm telling my story like I paid to go back to school just so that I could say that I had my high school diploma. And so, that was the start of my life. And I never thought that I would be in that position, but I was. And so, really trying to find out, first of all, how did I even get here? This is not even what I'm used to, accustomed to. What happened to get me here? And I mean, it was just a long journey. When I say a long journey, a journey of teen mom and then a single mother, fighting with my kids' fathers, two different fathers, um, to help me raise these kids, that I was like, I didn't have on my own. So all going through all of that and then still trying to show up as a mother so that they don't see the hurt and the pain, that I encountered. And it continued to progress as I got older, as my life, continued, and going into marriage at 30, finally, I didn't think that there would be a man that would want two children, a woman with two children, you know. But thankfully, I was able to meet my husband, and it just continued. That the journey, it continued, but it started by being a teen mom.
Oh, wow. Okay, I love how you said like you came from a two-parent household because a lot of times people's first thought to a teen mom is, oh, she wasn't being supervised or she must have came from a single mom and she was doing whatever she wanted to do. So I think that's also important that you did mention that. Can you tell us before getting married at 30, what types of challenges did you face relationship-wise when it came to dating to make you even think, not just you, but a lot of women think no one's going to want a woman with two kids?
So I would say I had a lot of challenges with men, a lot of challenges because that old saying, looking for love in all the wrong places. I was wanting to be loved, and so any man that said, oh, she has pretty eyes, or oh, she's pretty, I would think that they were genuine and really cared about me, only to find out that they only wanted maybe my car, to drive my car, or to stay with me, basically to use me. And so that journey of trying to find out what true love was at the time was very, very difficult. And I wasn't easy. I want to put that out there. I wasn't easy. Um, but at the same time, I was really just seeking for validation. I was seeking for someone to love me. And I didn't find that.
Wow. So how did you meet your husband?
Oh, girl. So he will have a different version of the story than I will,
Always, they
of
always
course.
do.
But it was on a Monday. We cannot deny this. It was a Monday, and it just so happens to be my birthday. And this was one of those days where I just finally decided that if no one wants to join me, then I'm going alone. And that was abnormal for me because I'm normally used to being with somebody, and so no one wanted to get out on a Monday. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm celebrating my birthday. And so I go to this place called Margarita Monday, and he just so happens to be there. I'm standing in a corner. He comes up to me, and before the night was over, he tells me that I'm going to be his wife. I'm like, absolutely not, sir. First of all, I'm here to celebrate my birthday. Second of all, who are you? You are not my type. No. Try to get away from him, only to go sit. Ask this young lady, can I sit at her table? I said, I'm trying to get away from this guy. And she says, who, AR? I was like, wait, you know him? She was like, oh, girl, yeah, he's with us tonight. That's my boyfriend's friend. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And so fast forward, we met February 21st. By August the 5th of the same year, we were married.
Wow. That is crazy.
I know, right?
That's crazy. I love that story. It's so funny that you say like they have different stories because my husband also has a way different story. And also, he also told me in high school that he was going to marry me in Texas. And we're in
Oh,
Oregon at this time. So I'm like, Are you psycho? So tell us, how did AR take you having children? I know that was a concern that you had previously.
So he initially embraced it, by him not having any children. He jumped in and did what needed to be done. However, he was embraced with a lot of challenges, you know, um, kids not really accepting him as a individual. Like, first of all, who are you? We jumped in and we moved so quickly. We really didn't give them an opportunity to get adjusted. And we were a unit together for all these years. And then now you're bringing this man into our home who is trying to tell us what to do. Like, who are you? You're not my daddy. So he faced a lot of backlash.
So he was faced with a lot of challenges. How old were your kids at this point when you brought him home?
So I believe my youngest was like 7 or 8. And then my oldest was like 11, 12.
Okay, yeah. That's the age
Yeah.
where they know what's going on, and it's like,
Yeah. Knew exactly what was going on, and my oldest, she just, I don't know. I mean, they just bumped heads so much, and it really caused a lot of issues in my house.
wow. So at what point did things start to change between him and the children, or what were some struggles prior to the change?
So, some struggles prior to the change were just, um, again, fighting against authority. Um, you're so used to just having a mom to tell you what to do. But, now you not only have to listen to her, but you have her husband, that you have to listen to. And so, probably, I don't know if they were maybe wishing it was their father, that was there. I really have not, in all honesty, like, had a conversation with them about it, because they are recently just now leaving, not too long ago. And I say recent, but over the last 3, 4 years. And so now it's like they are coming into adulthood and really, starting to respect that this was my decision, this is my decision, this is my husband, and he's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm. I love it. How, if at all, like how did it go through your mind with, God, husband, kids? Did you ever struggle with that when your kids came before your husband? What was that struggle like?
Absolutely. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, not only have they only been with me, or me being their sole, parent for all these years, like, they have been my everything. And so it was a struggle for me to have somebody to come in and telling them what to do, because I'm the one that's used to doing it. But I understand, the hierarchy, or, the chain of command. And so I had to get myself up under subjection, get myself together, and realize that you have a husband now. And so, yes, you can't let them know that you're mad because of a decision that he made. You can't let them, being the kids, you need to go in private, you need to go in secret and talk to your husband. Because then they have leverage, as far as to say, this is why, I'm going to act out, or this is why I'm going to respond the way that I respond, because they're not even on the same page. So it was a lot of balancing and trial and error. This is my first marriage, my first and last marriage. And so, there was not a blueprint that I had to say, this is how you're supposed to do things as a blended family.
Right. Did you have any families that were blended as well that you were able to talk to as a support system?
Um, Not that I can recall. Everybody that's in my family, they are married and have only been married to one person. Same children's father, husband, blah blah blah. So nobody that I could think of.
Okay. Yeah, I know sometimes if you have someone to at least like, hey, did you deal with this or how did you handle this? It could be easier, but to not have anyone in your family who's been with that situation.
I retract that. I retract that because actually I had my cousin who was also my mentor, and I don't know how I could forget about her, but she has a huge blended family, and she and I would talk all the time to help me to navigate through how I should respond as a wife, but also making sure that my kids know that I still have your back, that I'm still mom, that I still love you. So, yes, I did have someone. I apologize.
Yeah, I love that though. I'm glad you had that. It's probably why y'all made it through.
Yes.
Speaking of making it through, what were the initial steps to make a blended family work other than, you talking behind closed doors when it came to disagreements about the children? What steps did y'all take?
So really leaning heavily on our faith, uh, talking to God, praying, crying, you know, um, talking to the kids, bringing all of us together to talk through it. Um, just any and everything that we could think of and that the Lord would, send our way as far as through the Holy Spirit is what we would use as a tool to help get us through this situation that wasn't easy. Um, I really don't think, in all honesty, how you have the happy endings. Our happy ending did not come until the girls, and it was really just the oldest. If I could just be honest, it was really the oldest that had the friction with my husband, and so it was not until she graduated and moved out that things were able to be restored, the relationship. So now, she respects him and he respects her. But it wasn't one of those to where, oh, we have this happy ending and, we did this and, everything was a happy family now. It wasn't.
When did she leave? What year?
She left in 2018.
In 2018.
Hmm.
Okay, and I know off camera you did mention that you had another child with your husband,
Yes. So
correct?
my husband and I have a 12-year-old son.
Okay, how was that for the family to bring in a baby?
So that was challenging for the middle child. And I've heard stories like this because she was once the baby and no longer the baby anymore. And you're bringing somebody else in and taking the place of where I once held. It was very challenging, for her. And for the oldest, it was a blessing because she stepped in and helped me in so many ways that I never would have imagined that she would have. And even today, she's closer to him, the oldest is, than the middle child.
Wow, I love that. I could just imagine like a new baby and being the baby and like, oh, hold up. And you have your dad here. Did you face anything like that?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that was another thing. It was, oh, well, he gets the special treatment because that's his dad, Um, oh, his dad is going to side with him because, you know, uh, he's not, our real dad, those types of things. And it was not that, it was what was necessary for him. We all had to, me and my husband had to adjust how we raised each and every one of the children. It wasn't the same cookie cutter parenting skills for neither one of them. So we had to let them know that just because this is happening this way with him doesn't mean that it's supposed to happen this way with you guys. We had to take the word fair out of our house because we constantly heard this is not fair. And we had to teach them that life is not fair.
I love that because at the end of the day, there's so many different variables that would have us treat different people different, and it's just what it
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean that we don't love you. It just means that what we do for one is not necessarily what we do for all,
Hmm.
good or bad, like it's just the way it is.
Wow. So after you had your son and you saw the differences and the girls felt how they felt about the differences, what steps did you guys take as a family then to remain such a strong unit?
So we had um we had that blended family challenge, and then the girls, or the oldest, left, and we thought, okay, now things are going to be great. We're going to kumbaya and be one big happy family. And then things with my husband and I began to develop, which they had already been developing, stemming from the children and other things, mainly like the children and just the disrespect and all of that, and me trying to advocate for them and then trying to advocate for him and me being in the middle. And so it just really put a burden on our relationship. And so around that time when she left, the oldest, then I left. And me and my husband separated. And the middle child and my youngest and my son, they both stayed with my husband.
Oh, wow. How long were you gone and what prompted that decision?
So I was gone for almost a year. Um, and I think what prompted the decision was in my mind. And we can talk about why I start by saying in my mind, but in my mind, my husband was not meeting my needs, my emotional, my physical, mental, my needs all around. I just felt like he was not doing that. And I felt like I needed more. And so I just, after talking to him and telling him so many times what I needed, what I felt like I needed, and not seeing the results, I felt like it was time for me to move and do something different.
Wow. I know that's was a hard decision to make to even actually physically leave. I know sometimes in marriages we might make those threats like I'm going to be out of here, but to actually do it, that means like you were really fed up.
Yeah, yeah. And I was one of those who made the threats so many times. And so to actually do it, I shocked myself because I never thought that I would. But I think that I got so far in it this last time to where I couldn't back out. So I had to stand on my word and do what I said that I was going to do a long time ago.
Hmm. Where did you go and how was that about a year or less away?
So I found an apartment, and I stayed by myself in an apartment. And I mean, it was quite the journey. I mean, it was definitely quite the journey. I didn't expect to be ever coming back. Like, I mean, I actually, to be honest with you, when I tell this story, I tell people, I mean, I think I basically, being a teen mom for so many years, it was just like I was free, like I'd never been free. For all these years, I've been taking care of somebody all my adult life. And so now that the kids have decided to stay with my husband and I'm alone, this gave me the opportunity to do things that teenagers and young adults would do, you know. But here I am at 30 plus, doing these things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. During that time, and I heard you say the children decided to stay with him. How did that affect you, if at all? I know you felt free and stuff, but I know you probably also, as a mom, felt some type of way.
Of course, especially for my daughter, because that wasn't her biological father, but she had that bond with him, with my husband. And so she decided that she wanted to stay, and although it was hard because it's just like, these are my kids, um, I was so fed up to where I was just like, if y'all don't want to go, then you can stay. I know that y'all are going to be taken care of, but I got to go. And that's what I did.
Mm, okay. So during your time alone, I know that you had a lot of fun, but also on the other side of things, how was your mental during that time? Were you just really like in a positive headspace and you were clear and you could think clear, or was it a lot of you sitting with self?
So I think that it was a lot of me being selfish and just not really caring. I wasn't sitting with myself and trying to be positive. It was just, I was giving myself all of the reasons why I made the right decision, when in reality it was really the wrong decision. And, I was finding fault in my husband. I was finding every reason why um, he wasn't the right fit for me, validating my decision, only to realize that I was not only hurting myself, but I was hurting my husband and I was hurting my children.
Mm, my goodness. Yes, I had like 1,000 questions a second ago, and now I'm just like, dang. So during that time where you said that you were being selfish, were y'all communicating, or were you just like completely separated from him?
So we would talk on an as needed basis, but nothing like, peaceful, conversations. It was an as needed regarding the children. And then it was, high and by type situation. It was not until further into the separation that we started to have casual conversation. And, it also from family members talking to me, talking to him, encouraging us to have a conversation, that we began to slowly be able to develop that again.
Wow. So tell us a bit about the steps prior to moving back home. What was that like for you?
So I think the breaking point for me was seeing my husband on around Christmas time. I think it was actually like Christmas Day. And I invited him over. My mom was the one who was pushing, saying, invite Adrian over. I was like, I really don't want to invite him, but I went ahead and invited him over. Um, knew the kids were coming, but we said, you can come as well. And so I saw him, and he had lost so much weight. And mind you, he's not a big person anyway, so to lose any weight, it just wasn't good. And so I saw a person that was hurting. I saw a person who, just wanted his family back. He kept saying that, I'm just waiting for you to come to your senses. I'm just waiting for you to come to your senses. And so I had to just finally look at the man in the mirror, because I'm like, you know what? I'm being selfish. This is not about me. I'm actually not only hurting me, but I'm hurting my husband. I'm hurting my children. I have broken up my family, and this is not good. And what I'm doing out here is not good. Yes, I'm having fun and that's, but I'm not doing what God wants me to do. And so that was like the breaking point for me.
Wow, yeah, that would have been sad to see because a lot of times, I don't know about y'all's men, but I feel like they're don't really show a lot of emotions or like really say how they really, really feel. And you have to like leave it to guesswork that they don't really care that much.
Yeah.
So to see that, it was probably like, whoa, you do care. Like this is messing with you. I thought you were living it up like me. I don't know. Like I thought you
Yeah.
were pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow. So did he ever ask you to come back home or did you have to like ask to come back home or how did that like this work out?
Yeah, no. So he definitely like he kept saying, I'm waiting for you to come to your senses. You have a home. You don't have to live here. You don't have to stay here. Like you can come home. And so eventually uh he started coming over to the apartment more frequently. When he'd bring the kids, then he'd stay. And we had conversations, more conversations. And then we realized quickly that we wanted to work things out. You know, I realized that the things that I was saying that he was not doing, he's not this, he's not that, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. It was like he was doing all these things, but I'm wondering, is he doing all these things to get me back? Or is he really indeed a changed man? And so I saw a transformation. I saw transformation right before my very own eyes. I saw a miracle that God is able to do miraculous things because this was not something that was temporary. This was something that was the start of a thing, a new thing in my life. And I believe the reason why I was able to see it is because there was some heart work, there was some surgery, there was some inner work that was happening in my life.
Hmm.
And the result of that was me being able to see it from a different lens who I really had in my husband.
Wow. So did you think that like did you see that he actually did change or was it more so you just recognizing his valuable parts of him?
I think it was a combo. I think it was a combination of both. There were values that were overlooked or overshadowed because I was so caught up in myself. But then there were also things that were valid, things that, feelings that were real, and things that needed to be addressed. And I believe that once I stopped being that angry woman, then he started to hear me, and then that's where the transformation really took place because not only is he changing, but he's listening to my needs. And not only is he changing, as an individual, but he's listening to my needs, and now he is doing things according to what I guess I've been longing for.
That's beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yes.
So through that and you getting back home, you got back home, things were like anew. Do you feel like things were made anew at that point?
Absolutely. So that's where the encouragement now comes in. That's where the hope comes in now. Because, like I said, there was a transformation that only God could have done. Now, we put in the work, we did put in the work, but I believe that it was God that really, truly did the hard part. We showed up, we were willing to fight, and we gave God something to be able to use. And so, once I got home, it was like I was a crazy person because, again, everything that I said that wasn't right, it was now right. And I'm like, what has happened? Was this valid? Or, was I in my head? And it probably was a combination of the two. A lot of me being selfish, a lot of self, and then also, again, him making some much needed changes so that we could make this thing work.
I love that. God's so important to be in the center of the marriage.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I used to not take that so serious, but as the marriage is going on, I'm like, oh no, we need to be tapped in together.
All the time.
Yes. So, is there any other parts that you'd like to add in at the end of you coming home, or is that basically bring us to where you are now?
So, I think that everything once I made it back home, everything in my life changed. The way that I saw my children changed. The relationship with my mother and my father changed. The relationship with my mother-in-law, which I longed to have a relationship like Ruth and her mother-in-law. You know, and it finally happened. It finally came to pass, and yeah, my whole life changed. I mean, it was an incredible story, a masterpiece that God was painting my life. My life was already painted, but I'm saying, like, God just showed me right before my very own eyes what he could do through me if I was a willing vessel.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. If you could take one lesson that you learned through that chapter of your story that you apply today, like maybe not on a daily basis, but that you frequently revisit, what would that lesson be?
So I think the lesson would be to not be selfish, to not think that it's all about you. So many times, oftentimes, we are struggling with the fact of me, and we don't take into account that it's not all about you. Furthermore, it's not about us. We are here to serve. And so, in understanding that, now I'm able to serve my husband and serve my children and any other relationship for that matter. I've learned my role. I understand my purpose. I know why I'm here. And I know people would say, serve your husbands. You know what? That we're not in. But when you understand God's word, then you understand your role as a wife. And then he serves me too, as my husband. We serve one another.
That's so good. I was reading, me and my husband were reading the Bible earlier last week, and we stumbled across, the Proverbs 31 woman. And I'm sorry, but I was like, I don't know who this woman is. And I'm like, where is the Proverbs 31 man? There has to be like a prelude to this, like to make this possible. But I just found that funny because to really like walk that out, sometimes it does take a lot of pressure to be able to like birth out that woman.
Absolutely. And, I said Ruth, but I meant Naomi and Ruth, having that Naomi and Ruth relationship, daughter and mother-in-law. But absolutely. I mean, but the thing is, I can't be worried about what he's doing. I have a responsibility as an individual, as a woman of God. I have to give an account to the Father. And so my thing is I was so focused on what he was doing to where I couldn't see that I had a lot of issues, that there were a lot of things that I needed to work on. So I think that when we take the attention off of the other person and focus on ourselves, then we'll find that God will take care of what needs to be taken care of over there. You just work with the Father so that he can help you to get to where you need to be, so that you can be your best version, so you can be who he called you to be.
Girl, I feel like I'm in a therapy marital session. I'm over here like, okay, I'm gonna take that back and work on that. That's
Seriously,
awesome.
I'm telling you.
I love it so much. Not that you haven't already empowered us. What are some words of empowerment that you would give to a woman who is currently separated from her spouse in that apartment, figuring out her next steps? What words of encouragement would you give her to keep moving forward?
I would say that there is hope, and don't let the world tell you any different. Society would say If you're not happy, if he's not doing this and this, then you should just leave him. But everybody's story is different. And you could very well have your Boaz, your king, the person that God created just for you, but there's just some things that need to be worked out. And who said that it was going to be easy? The world wants us to believe that it's a cakewalk, but it's not a cakewalk. Marriage is work. My old pastor used to say, marriage is work, and you have to work it daily. And so, you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and put in the work, and anything that's worth having is worth fighting for. And so, don't give up so easy. Be willing to fight it out. And even when you feel like you've done all that you can, it's not a cliche. Continue to stand, because our timing is not God's timing. We think that things should happen immediately. We want this microwave blessing. God, I prayed to you. I asked you to heal my marriage, to fix it, and you didn't do it. It's been 3 weeks. What?
Yeah, that was my prayer.
It took you 3 years. You've been dealing with this for 3 years, but you want God to fix it in 3 weeks. Not to say that He cannot, because He can, but He's developing. There's some things that He's developing in you that He's trying to work out in your life. So you got to be willing to endure and to stand firm and not give up.
Y'all heard that? I know I did. That was amazing. That was so amazing. We appreciate it. Do you have any closing words that you'd like to leave us with? I know you just did, but is there anything else in your soul that you just feel like you have to get out on this episode?
So I think that, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. This is my first time truly sharing my story. I've told people about my journey, but I've never really had an opportunity to share. And I've said that the Lord did not allow me to go through this for me to remain silent. There are other women that have experienced or will experience or are currently experiencing what I have gone through. And the world needs to hear it. They need to hear stories of triumph where I didn't give up. I persevered. I kept going. Even though there was a small, there was a break. But I didn't let that define me. I didn't let that be the end of my story. I continued to go forward. And because of my willingness to stay in it, the Lord put His stamp of approval, His blessings. And now my marriage today, 13 years later, is better than I could have ever imagined. We don't, argue. Like when I say we don't argue, we may have disagreements, but it's like, okay, all right, that's what you, all right. And then in the next breath, it's like, okay, so what do you want to eat? Because we realized that those things didn't even matter. We were trying to figure out, like, what was it? Like, why were we even at odds with one another? We know we love each other. Like, what was the problem? And so a lot of times it's not the big things, it's the small things that make up something big. And so if you truly want it to work, then you have to fight like your life depends on it. And don't let anybody else tell you anything different. Not your family, not your mother, not your friends, not the world. You do what God said, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Mm, that's beautiful. Keep letting the Lord use you. And I'm so honored. I got chills when you said you haven't got a chance to really tell your story. And I'm just so thankful that Lean is here in the first place that you've been able to share your story. Because I know you're about to go global and we're going to be like, it started right here. Like, it started right here. I know she's about to be on stages because people need to hear your story. They need to. I needed to hear it. I'm sure every woman who is married needed to hear it, because those moments really do come where you're faced with, am I going to leave? Am I going to stay? Am I going to stay gone? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
was God telling me, or the big gem I got was focus on yourself. Don't look at what they're doing. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to talk to God about what you did.
Yeah.
So everything you've dropped today has been a blessing.
Thank
Where
you.
can we find you, Miss Celicia Nicole? Where can we find you?
So I'm on Instagram under Celicia Nicole, on TikTok, on Facebook. All of my handles are Celicia Nicole. And it should be fairly easy because Celicia is a unique name. And then also Girl Get Dressed. So you can find me on Girl Get Dressed on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Awesome. And everyone, check out the show notes where you can find direct links to where to find her as well. Well, Celicia Nicole, we thoroughly enjoyed our conversation with you today, and I hope that you have many, many more years of a blessed marriage.
Thank you so much, Mahogany. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Lean. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to take on whatever challenges come your way. If this conversation resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use a little extra encouragement. The Lean podcast thrives because of listeners like you. So let's continue to build this community. Drop a comment, leave a review, and let us know what topics you'd love to hear more about. And if you haven't yet, be sure to join our Facebook group, the Ladies Empowerment and Alignment Network, where the conversation and support continues every day. Until next time, keep leaning into growth, empowerment, and alignment. Thanks for being a part of the Lean community.